Good morning, everybody. It's 9 o'clock Thursday morning. Welcome. We're going to go ahead and get started. People are still logging on. We have a pretty good attendance today, so thank you all for logging in. And we'll start with just talking about a little housekeeping. We have you on mute, and hopefully your audio is working. We do encourage questions. There's actually a little bubble icon that you could send me questions or chat if you're having any difficulties or challenges. And we will also be recording this, so this will be available. At the end of the presentation, we will be sending out a survey with an opportunity to participate in our marketing kit. So we'll go ahead and get started. So thank you again. This is first in a series of renovation loan seminars that we will be offering. The second one will be coming up next month, and then follow with another one the following month, talking about creating ADU opportunities with this renovation loans. So the agenda today is to just sort of talk about the hows and whys in terms of leveraging renovation loans. We're going to go through a primer on how these loans operate, talk about our marketing strategy and our overall marketing kit that will be available. So to introduce myself, my name is Will Johnson. I have a home inspection business here in San Diego since 2005. I started into the renovation loan as a 203K HUD consultant. So I'm not a lender. I'm a field consultant required by these loans. I've been doing these since 2008. I manage 2 to 3 dozen of these loans every year. Very passionate, very excited opportunity to present these to realtors. I also have certifications in terms of energy assessments, and we'll certainly save that for another future presentation. So just wanted to just let you know, this is exciting because this is innovative, that we are working with some new tools out there, or some very established tools out there, but really create some new ways to create some selling strategies for you to go forward. And we're offering, a complete solution here. So, our goal is to really motivate you that we have a complete training solution, marketing program, and support to really help you attain your ultimate goals in terms of growing sales. So as I mentioned, this is a complete solution. So we're not just talking about training. We also have marketing expertise and services available. This is all free of charge and included. So this marketing kit will certainly help accelerate your ability to go into the marketplace. And then as you start getting prospective clients or customers, we'll be able to support you through a complete sale. So this is a full sales cycle. So that's what's a little bit unique about this. It's not just training, it's marketing, being able to support you throughout the entire transaction for a successful sale. So what we've done is, as we've looked at the whole renovation loan spectrum in terms of how it applies to realtors, and we've come up with 3 functional areas or strategies. And today we'll be talking about the makeover strategy. The reason is we feel like this is an easier introduction to renovation loans to realtors. It really has less steps and processes associated with it compared with a standard renovation loan. This will lead to a higher rate of success. And I think there's just plainly more opportunities with this makeover strategy once you understand its whole intent and purpose and target market for it. So let's give you just a little bit of market perspective, and this sort of gives you some compelling reasons as to, you know, why we're looking at renovation loans. I always like to talk about home ownership, and this is a little bit of preaching to the choir. I fall into this baby boomer category, and this I sort of found very sobering. This really sort of fortifies why I'm in this business and why I'm passionate about doing what I'm doing. But home ownership is really, really critical for people's wealth, and particularly as you start to look at retirement, you know, this becomes an important asset. So this is a little bit of a sobering statistic that, you know, we nationwide average, you know, our net worth when we own a home, turn 65, is $165,000. The real issue is what happens if we're a baby boomer and we don't own real estate. I mean, that's really, really daunting. People that go into into retirement without owning a home really is in peril in terms of supporting them through retirement. So I really see home ownership as a foundation of building wealth, and I think just sort of fortifies what you do out there is critically important. What I do out there in terms of providing real estate services out there is just really critical for helping people to get into home ownership. Talking a little bit about baby boomers, I think this is another strategy that I just want to keep you in mind when we start talking about marketing. Any of you that have baby boomers in your client base, I think there's an opportunity to talk to them about how they're going to leverage their assets. And we have a couple of marketing strategies that we can talk to you about that will certainly help you approach them and create opportunities and opportunities for yourself. One really big area that I've been paying a lot of attention to is the iBuyer marketplace. I do have relationships with realtors in Arizona, and if you don't know, Arizona is sort of the canary in the coal mine. The iBuyer marketplace is already very, very well established out there. I've seen comments where home viewers watching TV are getting saturated with these iBuyer marketing advertisements. I saw a statistic recently that people that go to listing, they still go with a real estate agent, but 40% of them have already been in contact with one of these iBuyers. And it sort of gives them sort of a threshold in terms of what they think what their property is valued from an iBuyer. So this has a very aggressive influence and impact, and I think this is something we need to be prepared for and really offer a counter strategy. And that's why we're here. This is what we're talking about today. So if you pay attention to some of these ads here, they talk about the ease of use, no listings, showings. They're just really sort of appealing to the buyers that just sort of feel that this is going to be a stressful process, and they're really responding to that. We have Zillow. I mean, this is really the gorilla in the marketplace out there, and I've seen webinars talking about the iBuyer influence. I think it's not hard to imagine that everybody interested in a real estate transaction is starting their journey on the internet, so they are obviously going to come across these ads. So sort of pay attention to sort of the message that they're sending out there, ease of use, because I feel the makeover strategy you have is just another counter strategy that you can now start to position yourself against these types of influences in the marketplace. So let's talk a little bit more about why renovation loans. This will certainly fulfill an opportunity where I think San Diego marketplace is just going to have perpetual tight inventory out there. So once you understand how these renovation loans work, I think you'll be able to do more with less. You'll be able to create some opportunities on inventory out there that maybe your prospective buyers just might not be considering. And what you'll see when you sort of participate in our whole spectrum of our renovation loan series to become a Reno Realtors is it really does fulfill a multitude of real estate needs out there. So this is just sort of a first step in terms of a strategy to sort of introduce you and get you to the point where you feel comfortable starting to offer renovation loans as a strategy. One of the other exciting benefits when you start really becoming competent and confident about these renovation loans is you can start looking at properties that really need a renovation loan. In fact, you may not be able to get a loan any other way if the homes are in really poor conditions and not habitable, not functional. So what happens is you'll be able to buy a property at a discount. One of the advantages with these loans is it's based off of future value. So your purchase price plus your construction loan, that determines your whole loan amount. You go and you run the appraisal. It's, again, based off of future value. Many times you can end up with a net equity before even closing escrow. So home buyers get excited when they realize that they're really making some good, wise decisions, and they feel confident about moving forward. This will certainly distinguish yourself in the marketplace out there, and I think that's important in any kind of a sales arena where there's tens of thousands of competitors out there in the market. I think this is an important way to really distinguish yourself. I think this really impresses prospective buyers and sellers that you're really coming up with some innovative strategies that they have probably not considered previously. And then the HGTV effect. So, I don't think this is a hard stretch when you go out and show a property in poor conditions of all of the renovation opportunities. You watch HGTV, so does your customers. So this isn't a big leap in having them trying to visualize or be hypothetical about it. I mean, we could easily point to real estate investors. I mean, they have a very attractive business doing nothing but this. So we're actually sort of empowering you and your buyers to sort of leverage this whole renovation strategy to their benefit. So again, sort of talking about, the whole marketplace spectrum out there, well, as you can see that these iBuyers influence, if you think about this for a second, if anybody works with clients that want to implement a 1031 exchange, they want to move up or move down, you can start to see that when we have sort of a buy-sale in this process, this starts to look a little attractive to these prospective customers out there that they may be able to leverage these iBuyer influences just because it helps smooth out the timeline from a transactional standpoint. So our whole goal with this renovation loan strategy is to really sort of set yourself apart, to come up with sort of some unique, innovative solutions in the marketplace that really makes you stand out there, really sort of impresses your prospective clients that you're coming up with something that they probably haven't considered before. So as I mentioned, one of the real attractions that these renovation loans, just so people are really clear, are based off of future value. And just so you know, when I talk about I do dozens of these renovation loans every year, in the last 2 years, about 70% of those renovation loans that I've been involved with are refinance. Not sales, but refinance. So this sort of addresses that or sort of talks to this type of opportunity. But bear in mind, even though, you don't have a play in a refi, this certainly gives you a future sale opportunity, or be able to let customers know that, this is your starter home, but, with the renovation loan, that gives you some more opportunities that they didn't have previously considered. So as I mentioned, the future value, the appraisal looks at that and really comes with potential of creating a much larger construction budget to work with. So bear that in mind as you're talking to prospective buyers out there, that we have this kind of opportunity out there that really can get them into some solutions that they probably previously hasn't considered. So let's talk a little bit about how these renovation loans are. These are government-backed matured loans. I've worked extensively with the Fannie Mae product. That's the home style, and then the HUD 203K program. Freddie Mac recently announced a renovation loan product out there. I've reviewed it. I haven't really seen a whole lot of, sorry, I'm getting an error message here. Hopefully this isn't distracting you here. I apologize for that. I'm not sure why I'm getting some kind of a Skype issue here. Anyhow, I'll continue to proceed. So the renovation loans, as we can see, comparing the FHA and the Fannie Mae, they have what's called a limited, which is up to $35,000. And this is what we'll be concentrating on in terms of the makeover strategy. Anything over $35,000 falls into what's referred to as a standard renovation loan. I'm directly involved in several processes with that. But again, from a buyer standpoint, these have attractive low down payments. One of the issues to be mindful of is some of these will carry mortgage insurance. And the way I always position this is the strategy should be is we're going to get you into these loans, get these renovations done, and then your lender's going to work with you to refinance you as soon as you can qualify, ideally to get you into a little bit of a better rate and to get you out of this mortgage insurance. Here's another interesting opportunity here with the FHA 203K is they will actually finance at 110% of the appraisal. So think about that for a second. If any of you have ever ran into issues where the appraisal came in low, came in under than your offer price, then you're sort of in a bad spot. And this sort of creates an interesting opportunity is what if you take that scenario, convert it to an FHA 203K, and now you have a loan package that will allow you to go 10% over the appraisal value, hopefully getting you to the point where the offer meets that. It's very, well, I can't say it's easy to convert, but it's possible to convert from a conventional to an FHA. But this way, you just saved a deal. You just sort of saved an opportunity, and I think in your customer's eyes, I think you're a hero. One of the other distinctions between the FHA, it does require owner occupancy. Fannie Mae does have a provisions to work with investors. So be mindful of these two products. When you start working with myself or a lender, we'll help you identify these kinds of variances so we're putting you in the right position or the right loan package to move forward with your client. So there's some process differences between the limited and the standards, and most of this you're familiar with, but we'll start with, on the limited side, just talking about a compliance inspection. It's your home inspection. The distinction is the compliance. We're going to identify some health and safety issues that will probably get called out in the FHA appraisal. So we want to include that in the contractor's bid so we don't really run into any delays or setbacks once the appraisal is accomplished. The loan is funded. You're done as a realtor. Those construction funds go sit in an escrow account. Some initial funds are released, 35 to 50% of it, depending on the lender. So this gives a contractor opportunity to go out, purchase all the materials, get the work done. And then once the project is completed, they send out an FHA appraiser out there to make sure it's completed, to close out the loan and release the balances of the funds. The standard, as you can see, is fundamentally very different. A HUD consultant really should be involved from the very, very beginning in the pre-sales process. I always encourage that. I'm actively involved with realtors that are sizing up in opportunities and just making sure we're putting together some good strategies to be successful. So we'll go into the standard process in our future presentations where that just becomes required. In the meantime, we'll work with the limited, and the way I sort of look at it, let's try to stay within that budget of $35,000 just so we can minimize and ease the overall process. So as you can see, we have new players involved with these renovation strategies. We really should be working with a lender that has some good knowledge, might even be a renovation loan specialist out there. They can be direct or indirect out there. And then what'll be really critical to the overall success is really the selection of the contractor. And I'll tell you right now, you really want the buyer to take full ownership in selecting that contractor. I have to be very careful as a HUD consultant that I don't show any kind of financial interest in these loans. I'm signing documents to that effect. So even though I have a list of contractors I can recommend, I make it very, very clear to the buyer or anybody that I share it, it's in my documentation that I provide, that the owner is taking full ownership of selecting that contractor. And just trust me, you want your client to own that process. And then renovation consultant. So I would be involved in doing the initial inspection, producing compliance reports. When we start talking about the standard, then I'm actually reviewing the bid. And then once the escrow close, I do what's called fund control. So I manage the release of those funds. I think it's an important benefit to share with buyers that one of these ways that these loans do protect your prospective buyers is we don't release any funds typically until work is completed. So we're really protecting your buyers from potentially any type of issues that we have with the contractors where they just stop being responsive in the marketplace or they disappear and they end up on your local news radio station. So renovation loan consultants, we do an initial compliance. We're basically looking at the properties for health and safety issues, smoke detectors, GFI outlets, and then just looking at the rest of the property. Is it functional? Is it habitable? Does it have life? Does the roof have some life left in it? Does the furnace, does the electrical, plumbing, do they all look like they are functional, safe, and have some history or still some potential of before they need replacement from that standpoint? When we get into the standard, I start creating documentation. I'm actually reviewing the bids. I'm involved in submitting some of the paperwork to the lender before they can even order the appraisal. So that's a process I'm involved in during the standard practice. And then once it closes, again, the realtor's done, and then I do fund control on the back end. So that's my complete spectrum in terms of responsibilities with these renovation loans. So here's our chart in terms of how these renovation loans fulfill the multitude of real estate needs out there. We're just going to concentrate on that first row, just makeover, where we're really just talking about doing finished improvements. These other areas will be covered in future presentations. So Makeover is really sort of ideally suited for a property that, as you start to look at it, is really outdated, really needs some improvements. And sometimes it's not even this dramatic. You're just looking at a house that's just not showing well and just really needs a makeover. So when you start to realize that, here's a property that you're going to show, when you get really confident with this program, you basically are confidently need to tell your buyers is, don't worry what it looks like. We're going to put a construction budget allocated to do all the necessary improvements that really can make it attractive and comfortable and an exciting place to live in. And what I found is these renovation budgets, we can do a lot with $35,000. We can do a lot of improvements, maybe not do a full kitchen replacement or bathroom replacement, but we can go pretty far with $35,000. So I just really want you to sort of think, try to work with that budget so you can stay within that limited threshold just to ease the overall transaction process. And as you can see, this adds, I think a very affordable addition to your mortgage payment where I think your buyers aren't going to think twice about taking advantage of this opportunity. I think clearly one of the best advantages that these loans offer is you're really empowering the buyer to really select their own improvements. And if you think about that, that's a real attractive counter strategy to what's happening in the iBuyer marketplace out there. The fact that you're now telling your buyer to go shopping for finished improvements, I think is very, very powerful advantage. And I think once you start to express that to prospective buyers out there, that's something you'll see some that people will immediately gravitate to it, that this is something they really want to add their personality and preferences and really be involved with picking out those final finished improvements. So I think some of this is pretty obvious in terms of what we should be looking at when we're talking to prospective clients. A good example of where this may not fit is somebody really needs something that's move-in ready. And this might not be a good choice for them under those types of circumstances. And then obviously when you're looking at prospective property out there, really where this fits is these properties are just not showing well. I was talking to a lender. They have an offer in on a property that's been sitting out there for 200 days. So you can see that this really starts to fit those types of opportunities. And if they're putting any comments that it needs TLC or potentially it's a bank-owned, or it's very obvious there's some physical conditions going on with the property that really needs some improvements. So this is an important slide because what you want to do is you want to really move as much of this process to the pre-sale side. So as you can see, we'll talk about this a little bit more, but developing your team, identifying the properties, get the contractor on board. If you find a property, you should be out there measuring it as soon as you can. Have realtors do some initial evaluation. Just look at the roof. Pretend you're doing an avid, and just start looking at any of these other components that, as we start going through the compliance inspection, if that's going to show up, then we really need to try to identify that up front. And then, have your buyer shopping for improvements. You really want to get as much of this done. Sometimes it's not possible, but this is sort of a goal before you open up escrow. Because as you can see, we have a lot going on in the escrow window. As much of that we can move to the pre-sale side, then we are really looking at some processes that are much, much more manageable during the escrow window. Conversely, if you sort of think about this, you open up escrow and you don't have your contractor on board, you know, how stressful that's going to become to really get all that accomplished during the escrow window. Talking about building your team, you have myself as an inspector, HUD consultant that can take care of your home inspection, compliance needs. You need to be obviously working with a lender, going through pre-approval, one that really does understand the renovation loan process. I have a whole network of lenders that I work with. They're both direct and independent, geographically all over the county that would be excited to work with you. And then we need to get the contractor on board. And I think soon as a decision is made to start going down this path, my recommendation is to really start tasking your buyer to start finding a contractor that they want to work with, and really sort of get that established really before you ever think about making an offer on the property. In terms of other resources, you know, we have a worksheet or a template that we can share with you to share with the contractor. The lender wants to see certain details in their bid, construction bids. We want to see scope of work. We ideally like to see material and labor costs broken out. So again, we just are trying to sort of set the expectations with the contractor, and this is what the bid looks like, just so we can sort of minimize that time when we're in escrow, because time is of the essence. Again, one of the biggest advantages is buyers get to go shopping. And I just think this is just a very, very powerful advantage that is going to certainly attract buyers into this program solely for this purpose. We've actually partnered with a company called ProSource. They're a nationwide company. They are the Costco for home improvements. So they're membership-based, and they're offering home improvements at wholesale prices. Membership is trivial, $25 a year for a realtor. So as a realtor, you now can start inviting your clients to the showroom floors. There's 2 here in the San Diego marketplace. So it has complete home improvement finishes, including kitchen and bathroom design. I want to go back to this previous slide just to also point out, again, we're trying to do everything we can to really provide a complete solution to you and your clients out there. So I've been working with ProSource here for the past 6 months, promoting their strategy to realtors and this type of renovation loan opportunity. I also have an interior designer, and what she will do is she'll go on site for 1 hour with your client, review the prospective property that they're interested in, sizing that up, and then what she'll do is she'll meet you out at the showroom floor and start going over some ideas and some matches of interior design services. The exciting thing is she will escrow her services, so no out-of-pocket costs initially to your home buyer. So again, we're just trying to bring a more complete solution to the marketplace for your clients. I think your clients will be impressed that they at least have these kinds of resources available to them. So I'm going to switch gears. So we've been talking about a buying strategy. I always sort of have fun with this when we sort of start talking about taking listings out there. And I've been in front of a lot of realtors, and I've always asked them the same questions. Do you ever take a listing that lacks luster? And I get a lot of eye rolls and people sort of chuckling that this is just sort of the reality of taking a listing. So I want you to now sort of remember this is sort of a strategy that the Ibuyers is aggressively going after, the overall stress levels with selling a property. So what we're doing is we are now leveraging these renovation loans out there and basically telling your client that you really don't have to do any types of improvements. We'll be taking the listing. We'll be able to attract more potential buyers because we want to market it with a renovation loan. So we have some attractive collateral. The bottom of there has lender information out there, so this can be available as a piece of collateral for a potential listing that you can leave behind if it's a vacant property. And then you can also start advertising it on the MLS to really encourage renovation loans with this type of purchase. So what you're doing here is you're sort of alleviating some of the stress. You're offering something innovative to your seller. You're reducing some of the stress because you tell them, like, you don't really have to do any of these types of improvements. Let us sell it as is. And I think it's advantageous to say that you could start to attract new buyers that wouldn't be looking twice at the property just because of the conditions. And now that you're promoting renovation, so you're bringing in another set of buyers that previously was probably not considering the property. And that puts them ahead of, the aggressive real estate investors that, the only way they play is by offering something that is so below market that it just infuriates everybody involved with the process. Here was one listing that I was involved in, and this gives us an opportunity to potentially suggest a listing inspection to the property. The property that we did one with had this condition on the roof. So obviously we have a problem with the roof, and this becomes very apparent as you're visiting the property out there. And, you're not going to get a loan on this any other way. So allowing to suggest to do a listing inspection is helping identify these kinds of conditions that you'll be able to do the request. You'll be able to minimize the request for repairs because a lot of this will be disclosed in there. And I think this just helps sort of the overall success of a completed escrow. We are offering to do our inspections and bill them to escrow, again, to minimize the out-of-pocket costs to the transaction. So here's some tips from the field. Really try to not narrow yourself down to a short escrow timeline associated with that. You need all the time you have in the escrow window, and so just don't cut yourself short, put yourself in a stressful situation by committing to a real tight timeline, escrow timeline. Get your contractor on board, get your buyer to really get that selected and queue that up, get them on board. I'm happy to talk to the contractors so they understand how the cash flow works. That's really important from a contractor's perspective. As I mentioned, the buyer must be selecting the contractor. Start putting together the scope of work. Ideally, if we're doing these makeover strategies, we'd like to have a construction bid, not only just for an overall scope of work and submit it, but obviously this is something the lender needs to know because they need to know what that construction costs would be to determine what they're going to qualify for. Managing the listing agent. So I think if we've done all our homework, we feel good about the offer, the construction budget, we know the buyer is going to qualify for the loan amount, and we have an idea what the appraisal is going to come in at, then we need to be confident before we start going down this path. Communicating that to the listing agent that, we got this is going to happen, but really communicating to the listing agent that we understand the process and you're communicating them through every step of the process. You don't want to leave them in the lurch, particularly you have to come in and ask for an extended timeline. They'll start to lose confidence if they start to realize you may not know this package and the overall escrow is in jeopardy. So we're going to move over to marketing here, and hopefully that gives you some ideas on this opportunities with this makeover strategy. So we've put together a complete marketing program. I have a website, SD203K, that I manage. This is a great resource for you to review, send your clients to. I've been doing a lot of recent updates specifically on the accessory dwelling unit marketplace out there. It is independent, so you'll never see other competing lenders or realtors on there. It's really designed to be a resource that you can confidently use and refer your clients to, and again, leverage as part of your marketing strategy to refer clients to as they want to learn more about how these renovation loans work. And we also have a complete library of collateral. So here's one that really sort of gives a good talking piece, and we'll customize this for you with all of your contact information on there. So now you can really start sharing this with prospective buyers out there and just let them see here's all of the kinds of strategies that we can talk about with these renovation loans. We're not going to make experts out of you, but I think if we can just get the dialogue going and getting buyers to realize here's some interesting opportunities out there, we're a phone call away. We're happy to work with you on a pre-sales timeline. That's really the time we should be involved. So we have one for buyers. We also have one for listing agents that we had just talked about. We also have ones for ADUs, and this has really been an exciting opportunity out there. So, I think it's important to start cultivating and having, a strategy in terms of how to leverage ADUs, and we'll be covering that in more details in a future seminar. One of the other marketing strategies we have is I've been with Constant Contact as a solution provider. I've been supporting marketing for lenders and realtors in terms of marketing to their existing customer database. What I found working throughout the years with realtors and lenders is they sometimes struggle on how they should really maintain that contact with their past customer database. And I think that's a huge asset that you are, overlooking at your own peril. It's really critically important for you to maintain that content and presence of mind to your clients out there. So we have a whole email marketing strategy that we're going to share with you and make available to you as a strategy. I like Constant Contact just because I think it's an intuitive interface, and what I've come to learn, whether it's MailChimp or Constant Contact or any other email marketing, they are now evolving into a platform. So people are sort of surprised now that Constant Contact now has a whole social marketing strategy. So any content that I make for email marketing immediately can start posting to your Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram as part of that messaging that you can get out to the internet. You can also do social marketing campaigns, that'll end up on Facebook or Google for that matter. It's all integrated into the platform. They also have a website strategy built into it. So it really could be a one-stop shop in terms of your overall marketing needs out there. One of the things that I've come to appreciate in terms of email marketing is the opportunity to really manage and see who's opening, who's looking at your email content. I can just tell you from being top of mind and creating this brand awareness, how much it's benefited my home inspection business. Staying in contact with them really just maintains that top of mind. I know I'm getting business that I probably am not getting just because I'm keeping people aware that I'm out, I'm in business, I'm interested in doing business. I've had realtors send back my emails that I sent out to them to order a home inspection. So you couldn't get more evidence in terms of the success and importance of maintaining that top of mind awareness. Again, I think we've come to understand how important it is to just maintain all of these touch points. I know some national realtor brokerages out there really sort of preach that, just saying, you really need to just make sure you're very, very visible in the marketplace. This platform can certainly help enable that, not just from an email, but a social marketing campaign. I like the reporting that I can pull out of this because I can see what my open rates are and my click rates. And then when I drill into these, I can actually see who is coming through, going to my website, creating that call to action. It gives me a very narrow list, and either these people are making contact with me to take sort of the next step, or it gives me a list that sort of encourages me to follow up with these people directly with the, what turns into a warm phone call, and just assist them further on anything that might have triggered their interest in some of the content that I'm providing to them. And that's one of the advantages that, I'm bringing is I'm creating all of this content myself. So you're not going to see this anywhere else out there in the marketplace. The last quadrant is, we got you excited about renovation loans. You want to do it. Take the next step going into the whole overall marketing strategy and let us create some custom collateral. We'll also sit down and go through a consultation with you just so we have something that really sort of makes sense for both of us to support you in your efforts. But just as importantly, as soon as you are taking your client down this path, is that we're here and ready to support you. So we talked about marketing. We're here and ready to assist you on any pre-sales types of opportunities. We're critically involved during the escrow process. And then just, it's comfort, I think, for you to know that your buyer has fund control as part of the process out there. So they're protected, and you want to feel comfortable that, at the end of the day, your customer is going to have that dream home that they were anticipating because of this process. So I'm very, very accessible out there. I have a whole network of lenders, renovation loan specialists. Any lenders that are interested in this, we can certainly help them get up to speed so they start to feel confident that they can start marketing this to their realtor customer database. So the next step is we'll be sending out a survey. Thank you for attending our event. That survey will basically help us start creating your marketing kit for you. So pay attention to your emails, take a few minutes giving us some feedback in terms of the overall event and strategy, and then we'll start working with you and developing that marketing kit so you can get out into the marketplace that much faster. So that completes my webinar today. We finished well ahead of time. I hope this was helpful for you. We look forward to serving you, helping you in the marketplace. Again, thanks again for attending. Keep your eyes open for that follow-up survey. Be happy to answer any questions that come about, and looking forward to supporting you in the marketplace. Again, thanks again for your attendance. We will have this recorded, so if you wanted to share it, we'll make sure we provide a link to that recorded webinar. Okay, thank you, folks. Take care.